Good morning, everyone. Russell Wright, Network Empire, ThemeZoom.com. I'm with my business partners, Matt DeCruz, Sue Bell, the CEO and marketing technical dominatrix, and Matt DeCruz, Mr. ROI, and one of the major developers and creators of the domain web studio, any silo builder. Why am I? You already know all you guys. You already know who I am. Sorry. We've been up all night. It's good to see you guys. I can't help myself. I'm having these little rolls, is everybody awake? Give me a 1 if you're all awake. It's good to see you, Brian, Kurt, Lionel, Neil. Neil is in the middle of sharing with me. Uh-oh. I'm not going to. Tim Edwards. Tim Edwards is also here. Some of you guys are taking double duty and maybe even triple duty on some of these courses. Dang.
Can't feel for those guys.
You guys are gluttons for punishment. Or maybe you're just gluttons. I don't know. Maybe you like being punished.
I like my whips.
Do you like Sue's whips? And Matt's chains? And my mind games? Do you like my Stockholm effect syndrome that I give you guys all? No. Brian's like, that's why we're here. Tim's like, I never leave. I just leave my go-team meeting on 24/7. That's going to be a really large recording, though. Okay. No, I leave all hours now, too. All right. So, preface. Sorry, guys. Just got to do it. We have a zero-tolerance policy for digital theft. In order to protect your digital investments and our proprietary information, we are actively working with various organizations and have successfully collected financial compensation for digital thieves. It's gotten serious for our certification stuff, guys. It's to protect you guys. Our stuff is major and becoming more major, at least the stuff we publish. Same for a live certification event, the stuff we don't publish online, all no tolerance policy. Just want to make sure you know that we're working for you. It costs us money to go to these extents, to track all these pages and documents and webinars, but it's been worth it, and we're looking out for you and our own financial interests, of course. So thank you for letting me say that each time I've been asked by our legal department to do so. We're going to get in today on week 3, themes, keywords, and competitors. This is, oh my. This is, I want you guys to know that this is major stuff. This is not your grandparents' internet marketing 101 or keyword research 101, okay? Sue Bell, Matt, rest of our team, myself have created and co-invented tools that are not like anything else. Krakken vertical online market analysis tool is not like other people's keyword tools, okay? There's a lot of money spent developing it. Sue has literally thousands of hours in the development of Krakken. Matt has thousands of hours in development of DWS, which complements it in terms of personal business sculpting. So don't feel like you have to understand everything in 5 minutes. We've got over 5 years in just thinking about this stuff. So just want to let you guys know that. We're going to talk about how to choose your markets, and I'm actually just going to get out of the way. This is not really my module. I spent enough time talking at you last week. I wanted to especially thank, it was a long webinar. I wanted to, and I was talking at you yesterday. Sorry, guys. I was highly caffeinated. My girlfriend brought me a Americano from Starbucks, which I'd never drank before, and I found out after the fact that it had 2 shots of espresso in it, which means that it was a double red eye, and I couldn't understand why my heart was racing 3 times the speed. And so I started yesterday's webinar with Guns N' Roses, and Sue was like, "You're very interesting today." So just want to let you know, I apologize for that if it was too intense. But the good news is that you've got Sue Bell on this call, Matt on this call, talking about major stuff, which honestly, I learned about vertical thinking early on from Sue Bell in the earliest part of our friendship, been almost a decade now. This is how she got me to start thinking about verticals. I was very confused about keyword research. I handed her a word tracker list of words for one of my clients, which I think was bizfilings.com, and she burst out laughing. And I had to, crawl away in humility and embarrassment for a couple hours. No, I'm just teasing. I made you sound bad. That's not true. She was very compassionate, but she was like, no, that's not how it works. So and hey, that's okay. By telling the stories of where we had our origins, hopefully you guys know that when you get certified or when you move into this level of working with your clients, you're going to be able to just the perspective alone is enough to create distinction, the technical accuracy and the vertical thought processes. We found that out early on as we began to do more and more consulting and building our own sites. So with no further ado, I'm going to get out of the way. And if you have any questions, I am manning the help desk. It'll probably go back and forth between Matt, Sue. Matt, who is speaking today? Is it you or Sue?
Sue's going to give us the rundown of Krakken and what was behind her thoughts when she developed the tool with you. And then we're going to sort of just open it up and get the guys to clearly understand there's a big difference between market analysis and
keyword analysis. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to step out of the way. I got the help desk. If you have questions, I'll pass it on to the team. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you.
So to start with, we've got, I don't know, just a small percentage of the class on today, but you guys are going to get the benefit of being here. So give me a 1 if you guys are doing local markets, and a 2 if you guys are headed more for national terms or affiliate marketing, that kind of thing. Some are both. A couple of 2s.
Wow.
All right, so we have a couple who are both, and everybody else is national. I mean, there's only 5 people on, so it's about split. Everybody's doing 2s, and a couple of people are doing 1. So we'll spend a little bit more time with Krakken than we will with the TLK team.
Looks like we have, Sue, it looks like we have some perpetual mastermind members in here coming back from last event as well.
Nice.
So we're starting to, that's great to see you guys back for a review.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. So, and Tim, who's mostly 1. All right. So, so you guys are going to give Matt your keywords, and he's going to run what we call the slide and drill on it. We have another name for it too, but it hasn't stuck in my head yet. Silo
magic.
Silo magic. And so what you're looking for, what you want to do when you give him keywords, you want to give him your vertical keyword, you want to give him your primary keyword, and then you're going to want to give him a couple of the supporting terms. So let's talk about what a vertical keyword is, what a vertical market is within your market, and how to decide what your keywords should be for a second. So I'm looking here at back pain. Back pain was the primary product, the back pain relief was the product the person was selling when he did these drills. And this wasn't in particularly small. This was just a couple of keywords that generated this. Usually you'll have about 15 themes that'll come back if you give us 4 keywords. So obviously the vertical for this, I mean, you've got 2 verticals that can come out of back pain, right? One is back and the other one is pain. But pain is really, I would consider, wouldn't you, Russ, say that that's really the vertical? Let me get a neuromarketer's opinion here for a second.
Sorry, let me see.
You just maybe stepped away.
No, I did. Sorry, I had to deal with a help desk thing real quick. It was kind of urgent. I'm back.
That's okay.
What were you asking?
When you're looking at the term back pain, would you say that pain is the vertical? I mean, obviously you've got back as also a vertical, but if you were only going to drill into one of those 2, would you drill into back or would you drill into pain? Or would back pain be the primary keyword that you would drill into?
I don't. You know, I automatically just take both routes.
Okay.
If in something like that situation, knowing that there might be a lot of pulsemic stuff,
Right.
But back pain is so huge that it's virtually its own. Even though pain in general or general pain is a huge market, but it encompasses so many thousands of medical and health-oriented things that I use Krakken mostly to see what the search engines, like what types of pains are dominating that, you know. So
Yeah.
I do drill in it just to see what the technical outline is of those, and sometimes I get this pulsemic garbage but it would be interesting. And then of course I'll stick with back pain in the end if I'm getting junk on those other verticals or pulsems on those other verticals.
Right. You know, I might just.
We should probably at least look at it. It's kind of curious.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Maybe I'll just add a new theme to this in another tab really fast.
Remember using Krakken? Using Krakken, guys, is fun. Huh?
Could you explain to guys what polysyms mean? I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should drop that wiki entry. A pulsem, a synonym, is a word that means the same thing. Like back pain might also be lumbar pain, might be almost a pulsem for I mean a synonym for back pain. But a pulsum is a word that, like back, for example, if there was a name of a car that was back, all right, it was called the back, that would be a pulsum for the word back. Or if there was a car called back pain, not that there ever would be, the car would come up in the search thing same as that one. Or if there's a band, the better one would be to say if there was a band called Hip Pain, it would be a pulsum for hip pain in terms of the product or service that you're offering. You understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Apple computers is also
yeah,
a great pulsum.
Yeah, the original pulsum that we used to discuss in 2006 was when you type in the word Apple, you will get, at least in the old days, you would get Apple computers coming first because they spent more money optimizing for the word Apple, whereas Apple as an educational term, or Apple for the teacher, or the apple the fruit, just came back kind of, arbitrarily. Does that make sense? Give me a one if you guys understand pulsum. Same word, different meaning. Same word, different meaning. Okay, got it.
Cool. And so while we're waiting for pain to actually drill out, I love the comment that...
drill into pain, Stu. Drill into our pain. You love it. Oh, no.
So let's just take a quick look at back pain here for a minute. So you can see here where the bold ends is market category. So back pain is classified as a market category. That means there is one level up higher than that, although they don't show you the back or pain here. So those aren't coming back in terms of the drill. It doesn't mean that they're not there, it just didn't come back that way. So let me back up here for a second. I'm going to actually turn this around for all of those of you who have been here before, and for anybody who might have watched the video associated with this week already. Let me ask some questions here. This is the theme overview screen where you get to see all of the themes in the cluster. And this is telling you how many synonyms there are for that particular theme and how many important, interesting keywords there are. And this is the cost per click information for that theme, the minimum one, so the keyword with the lowest cost per click, the highest cost per click, and then the average across all of these 19 keywords. We've got also the average competing pages, the pay-per-click traffic, the searches, and then the yearly ORV. So in other words, this gives you an idea of the value of the back pain theme. Those 19 keywords that are highly representative of that particular theme have a yearly ORV of $21 million. Okay? So as you sit here and you look at what our script has drilled out for you, you get an overview of all the different kinds of pain that are related to back pain, and you can see at a glance how competitive each one of these themes are. And what I do when I look at this is I look for things that kind of jump out of the screen at me. They scream, ask me why this is so. So as you take a look at my screen, can you guys see my screen well enough? Should I blow it up a little bit? As you look at this, tell me what jumps off the screen at you. Tell me what information you can glean or what why questions you would like to have answered. Back exercises jumps off the screen. Okay, so what is it about back exercises that you find interesting? That's a good comment, Neil. Is it
the maximum cost of click he's looking at, probably.
The competing page is relatively high ORV, high cost per click. Exactly. So you got this $58 keyword in there, and that would just, it's the highest keyword in the whole list. So that kind of jumps out at me as to like, wow, what the heck is that about? And in a theme that generally you would think would be information rather than cost per click oriented, it does kind of scream like what the heck is going on there. So let's just go take a look at that. I know some other folks have made some other comments. We'll come back to those in a minute. So you can come in here, you can sort by cost per click so that the most expensive one pops right up to the top. And we can see that it's back Dr. Austin, which I find fascinating. So somewhere in his marketing, he must be talking about back exercises. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come up with that. But this keyword wouldn't have come up with that. But it's interesting find it really fascinating. So things in Texas tend to be more expensive than some other areas. You've got Texas, you've got LA, and you've got New York, which seem to be the most expensive. But that's a heck of a lot of money to be paying for competing pages of $13,000. So that is fascinating. All right.
He only did it once. It was one click, and he was like,
right?
"Ah!"
Ah!
Oh no,
Pain.
that's a pain. Pay-per-click pain.
Now, here at $20, you've got total gym exercises. This is an interesting thing. This is like one of those tangent concepts that come to my mind. I wouldn't have thought about actually marketing the gym for back exercises, but given what I see right there, like that's a fascinating concept. So those are the kinds of things that run through my little 3% as I'm looking at this. So what else?
It's funny, Sue, that I love that co-occurrence column because it shows me, how the gym, it's still related, but it's pretty distant. But, I just wanted to point that out. As a marketer, you guys, I love that. We actually call that co-occurrence can also be called the market. Then we used to call that market slightly different algorithm, yeah. I know. But I really love it because you guys are familiar with co-occurrence, right? Just not to hijack Sue's conversation. I just love it, though. 0.150. In the old days, Sue was pretty much interested in anything that was above. If it was a 2% or greater, it was very, very interesting. At least that's what you told me a couple of years ago, Sue. Mm-hmm. Yep. When you get really down there, it makes sense that a total gym exercise is like under 0.150, but it's still connected. And I love that because you do sometimes find tangent relationships, like Sue was just mentioning. Just wanted to point that out to you guys. Really, really cool. Okay.
Indeed. So let's just see what other Brian. All right. Yes. All right. Good. So let's come back here again. Anybody want to make a comment about anything else they see on this screen?
What is the vertical you drilled into? Is this the theme screen?
This is back pain that we drilled into. I've got pain over here that's in the middle of drilling.
Okay. That's interesting that hip and joint pain are connected to back pain.
Yes. So it is interesting because quite often you get, because the back isn't anything but a bunch of joints, right? You do get some crossovers there. So people who treat back pain are also going to treat hip pain and joint pain. And so you can see you get a lot of crossovers and keywords between these drills too. So Brian says, very interesting that back pain has so many more competing pages, but similar searches, ORV, and cost per click, and hip pain. Exactly. Yeah, that's a true thing. So this is, back pain is going to be a more competitive market. I would say actually there's probably more people with back pain, although hip replacements are getting pretty common these days. So that's why you see an average number of competing pages. If we come in here, let's just do this for a second. Open that in a new tab, and let's open this, and let's do some comparison between these two themes. This is quite different from why I usually run this. So, if you want to go back to one of the historical vids, you'll get my more traditional analysis. But let's see if we can split this a little bit. I think my screen is really messy, so you guys just have to forgive me. Bring this in so we can get this side by side. So Let's look at this for a second. So as you look at the scatter graph, the more dots you have in the upper right-hand corner, the more competitive the market is. So actually, these two are fairly reasonably consistent with each other. And as we come in here for who's actually ranked, WebMD, surprise, surprise, spine health, dang, we did actually get different, yeah, back pain and hip pain.
Yes, only position number 4 will start changing out.
Yeah. Ortho-info versus orthopedics. So spine health isn't one of those that I would consider to be a mega site, but WebMD, Mayo Clinic, those often come up in a lot of the health. Also NIH.gov, Wikipedia. So there's a lot of heavy-hitting sites in here. But what I really want to look at, actually what I really want to look at is the white paper. Analysis. Now these were run a while ago, so if you go and do a Google search, you might come up with completely different results. I think these were run about 9 months ago, but it's just a good set of queries to actually look at. Okay, so when you check this out, WebMD, this particular page has got a PR. Oh, this was run so far long ago, we don't have domain authority in here. Dang it. Well, that's about as useful as a squeegee sharpener. I'm going to have to delete this and rerun the whole thing. All right, but I'm not going to do that today. So in a new drill, so you're going to find the DA right here beside the PR. And that's really helpful because it gives you a much better feel for what the heck is going on. In fact, let's just see if it's almost done, not quite.
What do you look for, Sue, when you look at that placket?
Well, what I want to see how competitive the market is, right? So I would ignore WebMD. I'd probably look at Medical News Today. They're ranked number 2 for back pain, so I'd go in and see what their domain authority is. Mayo Clinic, I don't care. .gov, I don't care. MedicineNet. So I want to see, because like these guys, the big heavy hitters, they've got such huge domain authority. They're trying to compete with them. You're not really going to compete, but they're also not really your competitors, right? Because they're not selling a service or a product on them. So you really come down in here to probably MedicineNet and Ortho-info, maybe even. That's probably an organization. Dang, in fact, the whole front page. I'm curious now, sorry, because we've had a couple of pretty serious Google updates in the meantime, so now I just have to see who is actually ranked on the front page these days.
Yeah, also, Sue, am I blind? I must be blind. Where's their domain authority?
Oh, I just said, these were run so long ago, it was before.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, I missed that. All right.
So Mayo Clinic, Spine Health, Wikipedia, medicine. It hasn't changed that much.
Yeah, that's pretty much tied up that market. That'll be it's be hard to cut your teeth on this one.
Yeah, no kidding. I wouldn't want to go right smack after back pay, which I think is what we decided when I do these drills, which is one of the reasons I use the drills.
I've actually been in the market.
So let's look at hip pain for a second. .gov, WebMD, Mayo Clinic, MedicineNet, Healthline, UpToDate, EDU, .org. That's also not pretty.
They're about probably position number 9. You can have a chance of getting in. The Rothman Institute.
everydayhealth.com. That's not an ad, is it? It doesn't look like an ad.
No, it's not an ad.
Oh, but it's got a page authority of 57. It's got a DA of 88. That's just plain not pretty.
Not a single video for that word either.
So, for which word? Hip pain?
I can't remember. I'm not seeing a video indexed. Maybe I'm missing it.
Wow. Oh, you mean on this page here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, marked up. Seems like there would be one of those large videos, you know, the new large ones.
So, to go for these terms is going to be just like expensive. And so you're going to want to hit long tails. Yeah, hip pain treatment. That's where, so let's just look at that for a minute. Let's come back over here to
you could actually run the competitive drill on pain, Sue.
Yeah, I could. So, because I want to, so return to this theme for a second. And let's just look at the keywords here for a minute. So, start to get into some educational terms here with hip pain causes. Well, although that's from the price per click, that's not exactly an educational term. That's really
not lower back pain.
Yeah, I mean that's also a pretty decent cost per click.
It's got good searches on it. It's under 5 million, under 6 million, sorry. Hip arthritis.
Yeah, I think you're going to be.
Well.
Yeah, that's still $10, $15. Pain in hips. That's maybe a keyword that would be worth looking at. Hip pain at night. Like there are some keywords, but I would be drilling into some of these lesser keywords probably to see what else you can pull out. Because that's just, this is a brutal market. Hip bursitis, symptoms of hip pain. So here you can see the page authority. Now this is pain, so this is the top of the vertical, so this is not going to be pretty. Right, so you've got the domain authority up here, Wikipedia, which is going to be 100, WebMD, which is 94, page authority of 58. So again, DA of 99, DA of 59, that's your first like major step down, DA of 44. So this is where you could start to get like maybe a little bit of an edge in there. They're still really stiff, don't get me wrong, anything over like mid-30s is pretty full on. But there are a couple of them in here. Okay, so now check this for a second. You've got a DA of 44 and a PA of 53, and it's outranking a DA of 87 and a PA of 74. Anybody want to give me a guess as to why that's like that? Dang, exactly. So it's how many pages on this site. This site's got more pages that revolve around the concept of pain than Everyday Health does. So Everyday Health has got, it's more diverse.
Could you just reiterate that, because I think it's a very, very valid point when you're actually looking at competitors or even missed opportunities for a client or yourself.
Yeah, so the reason that this jpain.org is able to outrank everydayhealth.com, where everydayhealth.com's got more domain authority and more page authority, the reason that JPain can outrank them is because they've got more of their pages oriented around pain than everyday health does. Everyday health is more diverse. So even so they've got more pages, there's a smaller percentage of these pages that are geared toward pain. And in this site's basically all about pain. You got the same thing here. You got Pain Journal Online. Obviously, you can tell by the names of the domains, they're going to be more about pain.
Yeah.
So that's why they managed to make it into the middle of the front page.
So guys, when you're doing market analysis and you're essentially looking at your competitors and you're trying to find your way in, this is a really good principle that Sue's shown us now of just becoming aware of how big these sites are, what their focus is, and why they're getting ranked for those type of things. Can you give us a one if you're clear on what Sue explained to you with the white paper, how to look at the DA, the PA, and the actual pages? Because this will save you a lot of money, especially if you're doing your own stuff. Because before you spend any money now, you can actually start assessing the market and seeing what you need to create or what you're up against before you actually enter into it. And that makes you really start thinking carefully about, okay, is this the conversation I want to engage in?
Exactly. All right, so let's take a look at pain as a top level for a minute. You've got back pain, pain management, chronic pain, chest pain, pain medicine, muscle pain, pain and arthritis, and pain medication. So these are the main keywords. We could hit the show all and look at the other ones, but I'm really mostly interested in these because this is how the market really breaks out. So when I'm thinking in my head about how the market really breaks out, you've got, out of this whole, this is the total search market value for this theme is $25 million. Out of that, you've got $8 million in back pain, $5 million in pain management, $3 million in chest pain, and then it falls off drastically from there, right? So those are the three real big heavy hitters in this market. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Brian says chest pain is really a whole different topic. Absolutely, it is a completely different market. But just when I'm looking at pain, so like what's fascinating to me now is I come back here to my Poseidon drills, and Poseidon, obviously it's going to get back pain for me, but I think pain management was another keyword that it picked up automatically. So I've got already drilled out 2 of the 3 top markets within the pain industry. So the other place that I would go look is actually in pain management to see how much of pain management is really oriented around my back stuff. So I can look right up here. I can get a bird's eye view of the absolutely most important keywords within this theme. These are the ones that are interesting, but these are the ones that are really important. So I've got neck pain, pain management specialist. That's an interesting idea. Lower back pain, because you're going to get guys that this is also about back. Like this doesn't exclude the concept of back, right? So you got lower back pain, cancer pain, which is a whole different thing. Spine pain, which is another way of saying back pain, right? It's you can have more kinds of back pain than spine pain, because you can have your muscles as well as your spine. But that's an interesting niche within the back pain market. And then best pain management. So within pain management, I've actually got 2 or 3 really important keywords that are all about back. So this theme is not outside of where I would look as well. And it's going to bring me in some really nice ways of expressing back pain that don't necessarily use my back pain keyword. What were you going to say, Matt?
Oh, no, what else I was going to ask you there was, so when you're actually breaking down into the keywords and you're opening the themes up, are you starting to like formulate how the site would flow, or the story would flow when you're thinking about this, or is this what you're actually doing? Just so, because the biggest problem a lot of guys have is they look at the keywords, but they focus on the individual words instead of looking at the whole theme.
Right, exactly. So my first time through, when I'm looking at these themes, I'm just kind of doing data collection. I'm looking at other ways of expressing the idea that I want to express. I'm looking at tangent concepts that include the idea that I want to express. I'm following the money to see what the percentage of the entire concept is that is my market, which is a huge percentage. If I'm looking at back pain, like that is the most of the pain market. And then from that, I'm going to walk away, have a cup of coffee, and just kind of let all of the information that I collected filter through my brain. And from that, I'm going to start to decide on the important bits that are going to be the foundation for my site. Now, I'm going to combine that. The reason that I walk away is because I've just looked at a lot of technical information here. I have assimilated most of the important information, and now I actually want to pull away from that granular aspect of looking at dollars and competing pages and keywords. And I want to go back and think about what Russ talked about last week in terms of how I want to position my market, or position my website, and position my business, and where the pain points are, literally, in the market, and what am I trying to do? How can I take that information that I had last week and combine it with the information that I just saw on these charts and figure out how I want to express my website? Does that make sense to everybody? Give me a 1 if that makes sense, and 2 if I was, if I didn't hit that pain point precisely. All right, good.
Yeah, give us a 1 if you like us, and don't say anything if you don't. Crickets. Brian, we are booting you out of the webinar. Ready? Boom. Wow, what happened to me? I've been ejected. Just kidding, man. No, you're awesome. Especially since you're taking 3 courses at the same time.
Right. I feel like.
Can't complain about that. Brian, you can say whatever you want if you want to take 3 courses parallel. That's cool.
You're talking about this
Yes.
part up here, right, Brad? You're in my hand. I can see that.
Yeah.
So this gives you an idea of where you sit on the grand scheme of things.
Right.
So let me find a better diagram here for a second. Let me find something that's niche-y.
Down here by back exercises.
All right, so when you look at this diagram, this is the parent theme, and these keywords, in terms of numbers of competing pages, are related to this. They're all on the same level. So just find it here. Back exercises has got almost 100,000 or almost 1 million competing pages. So this is going to be everything that's between 100,000 and 1 million pages. These are going to be the things that are less than 100,000, and these are going to be the things that are over 10 million. So this gives you kind of a hierarchy, if you will, a visual hierarchy, a back pain, back exercises, lower back pain treatment. So this is like descending from more competitive, medium competitiveness, and low competition, just in terms of competing pages. So you can see that back exercises is a theme. So that means that back pain is going to be a market segment, and that low back pain treatment is going to be a niche. All right, so when you're looking here at pain, it's a market. There isn't anything above pain. When you look at back pain, that's going to be a market category. And so this we show up to 4 levels on this graph. So this just gives you a quick indication of how far up the vertical market you are. Here we're at the top. Here we're about in the middle. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So the competing page count is mostly what determines, yes, the competing pages determine the levels. No, I don't think that there's any correlation between competing pages and competition. When I look at competing pages, I think more about the size of the conversation that's going on. So as you look down through here, let's just sort these by competing pages for a minute. Popularity, if you will, I think is a much better way to express it. So back pain within this theme is the largest conversation that's going on. And down here at the bottom, back Dr. Austin, total gym exercises, these are the smallest conversations going on. And so this gives you an idea of where you want to enter into the conversation. I will say that we did a lot of analysis, and there are some loose correlations between numbers of competing pages, the way that Google calculates number of competing pages, and competition, but it's loose. You need another indicator in there, like domain authority, in order to be able to really understand what how competitive the market really is. All right. Yeah.
A good thing there as well is when you guys start thinking about the conversations rather than keywords and the size of the conversations, it helps you with when you design your silo architecture, you know how broad you could actually go across any market if you wanted to. So what we do next week when we speak about silo architecture and stuff, we'll tell you a bit more about creating placeholder pages where we can actually map things out but not actually focus on getting ranked for them. So what made it really easy for me when I started using Krakken and actually understanding the tool was when I totally forgot about keywords, but I thought about the conversations and how the language was used. So for example, on the back pain one, we could see it was back pain. So could you scroll up a little bit more?
Scroll
back
up?
Exercise. Yeah, I just want to see the keywords. Yeah, so if you look at the first keyword, back pain, it's a big conversation. The next thing is back ache. So there's two ways of how people express the same type of idea.
Yeah.
And those are things you should pay attention to as well, as how do people use the language to express what they're looking for, and how popular is that actual word in the context of the conversations or the information they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's also fascinating to see something like core exercises. So when they're talking about core exercises, they're actually talking about your core muscles and exercising your core muscles. And that sort of spins me off into a whole other thought process in my head about keywords that I could drill into to look for another way to express back pain. So
fun products.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm always looking for pure diverse keywords within my themes because, well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, Panda and Penguin these days is so, it's so easy to trip those filters if you overuse your keywords. So you want as much keyword diversity as possible. And when you get pure diverse, which means you don't have anything in that keyword resembling your original keyword, then you've got a whole other set of keywords around that keyword that you can use to sprinkle in and mix it up. And it helps in two different ways, right? One thing is you're going to rank for more keywords, which is helpful because you're going to get a larger net to capture people who are doing searches, and also you avoid those master filters. So along those lines, let's look at TLKT for a moment, because when you start to think about all of the stuff that you need to do, like for example, Krakken is a great tool to use to create your website and to get all the themes, to get all the keywords that you need for your website. You can get an extended list of keywords, what we call the EKDNA, the Empire Keyword List out of your Krakken blueprint drills. But when it comes to auxiliary writing, so in other words, blog posts past a certain point, or articles that you want to put on third-party platforms for whatever reason, then it can be incredibly helpful to go to TLKT, because TLKT is much less discriminating. So Krakken actually tries to give you a theme. In other words, it's looking for keywords that are specifically related to back exercises when you drill into that. TLKT is just going to go out and look for a bunch of keywords. It's going to go to all the places that Krakken goes to, but the the net full of keywords that it brings out doesn't bother to filter those keywords at all. It's just like, hey, you might want to use any of these. I don't care how relevant they are. I don't care what the cost per click is. I'm not really fussed about whether or not the number of competing pages is super huge or super small compared to what your seed term was. Krakken looks at all those things. But TLKT just brings back a whole bunch of keywords and says, hey, go have fun. So you can find keywords in that list that you can't find in Krakken. And we've got some nice filters that help you find some interesting things. So let's just look at, for instance, we have a new one in here that I haven't put in as a default yet. Hang on a second. Oh, and we went and changed the name of it, so now I'm not going to be able to find it. That's just wrong.
Which one are you looking for, sir?
One we did with Jimmy the other day.
The anchor text deletion?
Anchor text. Yeah, I think it's that one. So this is great because you're looking for keywords that don't have too many competing pages. You're looking for it where the keyword is pure diverse from your original drill. And we're looking at it where it's got an LSI score that makes it at least a little bit relevant. We remove all the completely, like, what the heck is that keyword, okay? So so we didn't get too many with this particular drill. That looks suspiciously like a URL. But slip to disk is an interesting term and definitely something that you could write a blog post about, right? Back pain,
Yeah.
slip disk, yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't have thought of that one, eh?
Right? So let's look at a couple other filters we've got here.
There's a lot of pain associated with that term.
You're right.
Oh God, I can't turn my head.
Nothing in the golden niches. Interesting long tails. That's also a good one. So this is going to have back pain in the keyword somewhere, not necessarily at the beginning, so you can have low back pain or back pain causes. And that just gives you a list of everything that's got anything to do with back pain. Those are fun for finding alternate ways of expressing what the pain actually is. You can treatments, symptoms. You can mix and match, so you could take, if you've come over here and you've found a different way to express something, trying to think of a good way that I can express this. I'm on a terrible theme for that. Hang on a second. Let's go to pain management. So let's say chronic pain is a segment that you want to do in your site. You can take chronic pain and substitute it with back pain and have a whole other set of keywords there that can be a quick and easy way to come up with additional concepts. So you can sprinkle that into your back pain keywords. You can take chronic pain causes, chronic pain treatment, chronic pain symptoms. That's one way to come up with additional keywords that are going to be pure diverse. Or you can do vice versa if you want to do a chronic pain section of the site. Good. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to say, because we have a couple of people here that are interested in local, is you can grab the keyword list. What I usually do is grab the entire keyword list. So let's come in here to the apply filter and just clear the filter and start all over again. You can grab this keyword list, export it. I have a video that's actually in the TLKT section in Tech Foundation 1 that'll show you step-by-step how to do it, because as I sit here and think about it, I don't remember exactly what the thing is that you have to type into the spreadsheet to concatenate the terms.
It's equals concat.
And it's got spaces in it and all of that kind of good stuff. It's not short, but it's not hard either. Let me just try to find it in the members area for you. Hang on. So you can grab all these keywords, open them in your spreadsheet, and I used OpenOffice, so you don't have to have Microsoft Office or anything. It's got to be under here, right?
Yeah. There's a local section there.
Local specific keywords.
One up. Oh, there we go, yeah.
So this will show you exactly what you need to do, these videos, and this is the function that you need. You can throw it in either Excel or in OpenOffice, and you can concatenate column A with column B. So I'll grab this, I'll open it up in a spreadsheet, I'll put my locale, like let's say it's Mesa. I'll put my locale in the second. That looks good. In the second column. Where did you go? Here we go. So let's just open up a column here. And we'll put in like city. And we'll put in Mesa. And then you can grab this and just drag it down. Right? And then open up another column. And then I'm going to put in this lovely handy-dandy little thingy-dingy. Oh, I lied. You know, it's missing the B2. Just ampersand. There we go. There should be a 2 right here on the end of this. All right, so you can see back paying Mesa. Maybe I want to make this lowercase just so that it's all consistent. Oh, well, let me. That's too fun. So that I can just drag this down, and you get all of your locale-based keywords that way. So then I can grab these, and I can come throw them back into TLKT, import keywords. I don't know if it likes that last trailing blank or not, so I never do it. And then once it's done, I can come back here, I can apply a filter, and I can say, show me my options because I never remember how to do it. I can say if the keyword was imported, right? I only want those ones that I imported now. And apply that filter. And as soon as the drill is done running, this will come back. And it'll come back with just the Mesa keywords. Does that make sense to everybody? Was that too fast? You got any questions? Give me a 1 if it's good, 2 if you got questions. All right. Only Brian responded. Everybody else fell asleep. Question about search is for keywords. Of course, it's on mobile. Okay. Lionel, if you've got other questions, type them in. Let me know.
I've been talking away and I've been muted. Sorry about that.
Oh.
I actually gave an entire lecture and I was muted.
Excellent.
You guys missed that one. I gave all the secrets away.
Please repeat.
I can't remember what I said. I just know that Sue would not have liked the things I was saying every 2 minutes.
Well, then that's a good thing you were muted.
I'm just messing with you guys totally. Let's see. Lionel says the report that you generated in Kraken that showed DA and PA. For those of you who don't know, domain authority and page authority. Are you doing this for each term keyword that you want to target to see if you can compete? Answer to that question is it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we are working on your WR1 sites because this is Tech Foundation 1. So what we're trying to do is, Sue, please jump in. We're trying to get a handle on their market in general.
Yeah, I'm looking to get a handle on your market in general, and I will come back if I decide that there's a silo term that I want to use and it wasn't drilled out in the original Krakken Poseidon drills. I'll come back and drill it out because I want to know more about it. I want to know who the top competitors are, and I want to know how competitive that particular keyword is. So I'm going to look. I'm going to scrutinize my silo parent themes.
Yeah. Lionel, what we're doing is we're looking at themes. There's a group of keywords. This is essentially what we're doing in Krakken. And we're trying to understand, does that conversation give us what we're looking for so we can actually speak to the players in the market? And then if it doesn't, do we have to go wider, narrower? We're trying to find what's the best way to actually enter in. And looking at the competitors is part of the whole process. So you don't have to go drill into every single keyword. Just drill into the things that are important to what you're selling. Cool.
Good. So for some reason, you can see my back pain project worked just a few minutes ago, but the import didn't seem to grab everything. You can tell these fields are all empty, so I would just hit the refresh data button every twice in a while. Google doesn't like us and it hiccups. What were... Oh, yeah, let me talk to that question that you had, Neil, about search values for local keywords. So that's a great question. So a lot of times with local terms, you're not going to get any cost per click or searches because that keyword hasn't been used within that locale. And if it hasn't been, if nobody's ever bid on it, then there's no information and Google's not going to show it. Not only that, but Google would rather you spend your money, so it tends to tweak the keywords that are more expensive to look more profitable, and the keywords that are less expensive to look less profitable. You just got to love Google, right? So, so the bottom line is, on a national level, the information that Google gives you is close enough for government work. And on the local level, it really sucks rocks. So what I tend to do, I come back here to my spreadsheet, and I've got all the information for the cost per click and yada yada on a national level, and I'll look at that and I'll say, okay, you know what, if there's 1,600 searches per day for the term back pain, I'm going to put money on it that there's going to be people in Mesa searching for back pain, even if Google says there's not.
Yeah.
So I use these searches per day, as my yardstick on a national level to ultimately decide for me what I'm going to do on a local level. But the cool thing is that every twice in a while it does actually bring me back information on a local level, and I can look at those and decide how important how I might want that information to skew my perception. And so here's an example of a way that it skewed my original perception when I did drills on the local level. A couple of years back, I was doing some research for Ford, and I'd never really thought about it. I drive Hondas, I don't drive Fords. What can I say? So
you drive Mercedes. You drive Mercedes.
Well, that's fair. So
Hondas, give me a break.
I started doing keyword drills for different locales, and the searches in in the larger cities for affluent cars were much higher. And in the rural areas, the searches for trucks were much higher. Well, now when I sat back and I thought about it, I'm like, well, of course, that makes a lot of sense. Rural areas, people have got, they need trucks for all this stuff they're hauling, blah, blah, blah. And in the city, what do you need? You need a nice, shiny sports car, right? So, like, looking back on it, it was like a dumb moment. But that was one of those times when actually looking at the data and doing the drills and on a local level brought an interesting piece of information to light. So it is worth going through the paces and coming back and just taking a look at the information. It might tell you information that you hadn't thought of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good. I'm glad that you brought it up, Sue, because yeah, if you're going too focused on the keywords, you don't see those opportunities or those connections. So you're sort of going to look at it from an open-minded perspective.
Exactly. So Brian says on the flip side, it seems that some local keywords have overstated search volumes, probably from SEOs doing lots of SERP ranking checks. Well, as I said, the local searches and cost per click, you can see how Google skews the data on locale information more easily than you can see how they skew it on a national information, because on the national level, things are already pretty good size, right? You've got reasonable sizes of cost per click for all your keywords and reasonable searches. But when you get down there and you're talking like tens and 20s instead of thousands, then you see the disproportionate, you see the way that Google skews the data easier. I don't think that it has so much to do with SEOs. In fact, I know it doesn't have anything to do with SEOs, because if you go into Google's keyword tool, or whatever they call it this week, and you do a search for a single keyword, and then you do a search for a bunch of keywords that include that single keyword, you'll get different values for that single keyword. So as soon as you start including other keywords, it's going to look at each one of those keywords, and it's going to look at the ones that it's going to make the most money off of and make those keywords look better. And it's going to deflate the rest of the keywords. And that's just Google.
Fun and games.
Yeah. So it's, the bottom line is all of this is spitball, right? You know you're going to get some traffic. There's traffic on most nearly all the keywords that you're going to think of to put on your site. So you use this as kind of a spitball. Don't bet the farm on it. Always be conservative if you've got clients and you're giving them estimates about how much money they stand to make off of the site. Be way, way, way conservative, because Google just lies.
Yeah, it's safe for walking on a quicksand.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, think about this when you're looking at the data, right, and we get all this information back. Just think of them as flags or indicators of interest and where transactions are potentially spent or money is being spent to actually create transactions through adverts. So when you look at those indicators, they can help you group and segment the information to smaller chunks if you're battling to look at the whole list. Okay, so yeah, don't take it as this is X amount. It's not. It's just basically normalized data.
Yeah. And the reason that you want to use it is you're getting a thumbnail sketch of how valuable, when you're looking at Krakken, how valuable one theme is next to another theme. In that sense, you're comparing Google's apples to Google's apples. And while you might end up with oranges, at least, while you're looking at Google data, it's ballparkish. And so you can look at, let me just come back here for a second.
Well, that raises the question, which is juicier, the red apple or the green apple?
Right? It all depends on what your preference is. But as you come back here and you look at this and you go, okay, these are in the same ballpark, right? And these are in the same ballpark. And this is in a different ballpark. And oftentimes you'll see pretty good sized drops, right? Like you'll see, we were just in one of these themes Let me find one that's pretty good size.
I think it was hip pain.
And you sort it by TSMV, and you look down that list, and you go, okay, 12 million, 8 million, 8 million, 5 million. You're in the millions, right? And then all of a sudden you drop to less than a million. So you know any of these keywords, you're going to make some pretty decent money on it. These keywords start to drop into, at least for this theme, right? This is like a middle ground. And then this is like niche. So I look at it like that. I break it up into chunks like that. And that was one thing I didn't really express here, but I do look, when I'm looking at a theme, I look to see how fast it falls off. Because I've ever been in some markets where you have one or two keywords that are up here in the millions of dollars, and then everything else just disintegrates to less than $1 million. And it's just like, holy giga-gamuga, you go from 10 million to less than $1 million. And so all of the money in that market is in those two keywords. So that kind of thing is interesting to me too, and that's how I group it. Like, that's how I look at it. I look at it big picture. I don't get really granular with the specifics. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, because it's very important that when you understand where the money is in the market, it reduces your focus. And if those keywords match to what you're selling, what Russell taught us in week 1 and 2, and there's a congruency between that, when you design your site is much smaller and much more focused and much more condensed, which lowers all your IT debt, lowers your costs. But it also means you can get your site live faster because you're focusing on maybe 1 or 2 keywords rather than 500.
Excellent.
Exactly. Cheaper by the dozen, easier by the dozen, works best when there's a little drop-off in TSMV. And when you think about your site, like if you build a good size, medium-sized site even, and let's say you've got 3 silos, and each one of those silos has got 5 articles under it. That's not a terribly big site, right? But that's a 20-page site, and if each one of those pages you're targeting 5 keywords, that's 100 keywords. Right, so you put that up against the average SEO that tries to target, what, 5 or 6 keywords on an entire site. You're targeting 100 keywords on your site. And so that's where it just starts to get, okay, I've got a pretty good size net here. I will get traffic. It will make money.
Yeah. So is there any particular things like, how do you, when you look at the data, how do you make the connections between what words should be in a silo, as an example?
Well, your silos should be the most important concepts that you're trying to express. The silo landing pages are the pages that are going to get the most link juice. They're going to be the ones that should be your most, typically they're your most competitive, but they're definitely your most important pain points. So you want to like jostle that. So your silo page is the menu at the top or on the side, wherever you have the menu that's on every single page on your site is your silo menu. And then when you're in a silo, you see the other pages within that silo. So you want those top level themes, those silo themes, to be the things that people see no matter where they land on the site. And you want those to be the foundation that you're building your business on. So it's a cross between your most profitable and competitive keyword, as well as the keywords that are the most important to the positioning that you've got with your site.
And when you choose your category keywords, the ones that are within the theme, the silo theme?
Well, obviously they need to support the silo. So once I've got my silos, everything else falls into place pretty easily. I would drill out each one of my silos in Krakken or TLK2. I think in TLK2 we've got, those, I have a filter in TLK2.
Silo filter, category filter, yeah.
We've got a niche filter. I would probably use that. Suggested silos in the niches. And that'll bring you back the keywords that are like thematically relevant to your silo and important in terms of cost per click and traffic. and then you need to pick from that list what is important in regards to your positioning. So like when you think all the way back to the FAQs to SAQs, right? Your FAQ is the question that the market is asking, and the SAQ is the answer that you're providing, or the question that you're providing, that you're telling people they should ask, which points to the inherent positioning, the inherent, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Conversation?
No, the aspect of your product or service that is your unique selling proposition, right? The thing that distinguishes you from your competition. Yeah. So you want to hit up those kinds of FAQs and SAQs that support that silo. Oftentimes your silos are going to be FAQs too, because those are like the things that the market is looking for. That's where you're going to find a lot of the traffic.
Okay. So guys, do you have any questions with regards to the connection between looking at a market, drilling the keywords in TLKT, getting our filler keywords, and then the concepts of silo architecture? How many of you guys have actually built a silo site before? Could you give us a one or two just so we can see? Or is this the first time you're dealing with it? So one is if you've built, two is if you've never built any silo sites. Okay, so did you guys understand what Sue said when she spoke about the silos and the silo navigation? Do you understand it visually in your mind where it sits in the actual site? Give me one if you do. Okay, cool. And with regards to the categories, this is the layer that sits underneath the silo site. Those are typically the keywords or the words that make up the conversation or the angle you're taking, like Sue said. Are you guys clear on that? Do you understand that concept and how to use the tools? Okay, so Tim, you're not, if you get stuck, Tim, we still need to have a chat so we can discuss it there as well. But basically, could you just tell us what don't you understand it, Tim? Because I think this is quite important at this stage. Once you get this conceptually right in your mind, the data analysis becomes a lot more easier and finding the right words.
While he's constructing his question, let me just talk a little bit. So you've got hip pain here, and this is going to suggest for you possible articles that you might want to put under hip pain. So let's say that hip pain is your silo. Hip pain at night, hip joint injections, those might be possible articles that you would want for your hip pain silo. And Brian also said something about what I elaborate on the third level. Now, I would only go on a third level if you are really hitting a hard vertical market. So in other words, that third level is really optional. A lot of people who have e-commerce sites use that third level for their products. So you've got your silo might be women's clothing, and then your category might be pants, and then underneath that you're going to have all the different kinds of women's pants. You can go a third level on this if you want to, but a lot of times, I mean, depending on where, obviously where you start up here, if you start at a theme, then you're going to be down at the niche level by the time you hit your categories. And so to go down into that third level, that might really it oftentimes gets really difficult. So
yeah, it gets hard.
If you find that you don't have good keywords for that third level, then don't worry about it. You don't need them. Just put in some supporting keywords on this level and you'll be fine.
Yeah, what we tell you guys to do in this course is, at a minimum, when you think about your silo, it's essentially a silo and a minimum of 3 articles, or what we call 3 categories that fall underneath it. That's enough to get your site up and started. Because remember, you can always come back and add more later on. You don't have to get everything done right now. Okay.
So Brian asked, do I often combine what's shown on separate pages in Kraken? I'm thinking there are times where you might want to combine to get more LSI, in other words, more semantically related keywords on a single page and look less over-optimized. There are times, if the themes that I'm drilling into are really similar, then yeah, I would combine those. The other thing is you can drill, when Poseidon runs your drills for you, it's only going to select one keyword for the parent theme. But when you run drills, you can select 2 or 3 different keywords, and that'll give you more keywords in your theme. I wouldn't select more than 3 synonyms when you run the drill. Otherwise, recently Krakken's just been having a tough time with that. It's mostly because Google wants to give us conniption fits on long keyword lists. So stick to 3 synonyms and you'll be good. But that will help you get more keywords.
Yeah, when we do the Poseidon drills for you guys, it's giving you the keywords in their pure form with no other keywords influencing what the results are. So if you want to dig a bit deeper into a keyword with different subsets, then do what Sue just told us now.
All right.
So guys, could you give us the one if you're clear on Kraken and you're more comfortable in understanding what the screens represent? I just want to make sure that you guys are comfy with this.
Yeah, if you want a more detailed blow-by-blow on what the screens actually do, refer back to one of the previous courses we did, because I go through it in a lot more detail. This one I came at it from a different angle, and I was trying to give you more of a
real-world approach.
Yeah, more like how I analyze data and what I'm looking at, what I'm thinking about, rather than these are what all the pages in the tool do and mean.
Well, what was great today, Sue, with this drill that we looked at is that we came into it and we hit the walls that most of you guys will hit when you see things that are just too competitive. And I think Sue explained it pretty well how to move around those walls and find alternative information and the results you want.
And absolutely, Brian, you need to go play with it. So I encourage all you guys to get your keywords in to Matt as quickly as possible and get the drills going, because then that'll help you get closer to a finished website by the end of the 8 weeks. You know, we're pretty lenient on that. I think we give you more like 5 days.
Yeah, guys, if life comes into play and you get dragged out of the office and you're out of town for a while, you basically just let us know. We will reset the account. I think we'll do it once for you guys. We're not going to reset the account 3 or 4 or 5 times for Kraken. So if you missed the first opportunity, please just think about when you can use it for the 2 or 3 days, and then just let us know those dates, and then we can reset it to give you access again. It's just to manage Kevin's time more effectively, so he doesn't have to do things over and over again.
Yeah.
So there's sort of one bite of the cherry.
Right.
Guns and Roses, please.
How many of you, can I drop a bonus in there before we go, guys?
Sure.
All right, this is totally confidential because you are eventually soon to be trusted advisors. Can you just guys give me a 1 if you have time for a quick related, but I just want to give this to you guys. Okay. How many of, this is mostly those of you who are agents. Do you have digital SEO agents, digital marketing consultants? Anybody here? Give me a 1 if you're a digital marketing consultant agency, or 2 if you're not. Just, not that you can't use this tip, but you'll have to use it differently. Okay, cool. Matt, can you pass the screen to me?
Sure. You have the screen.
Controls.
Okay. For you guys who are agencies, I just wanted to show you Mendeley.com. This is a domain authority of 88. This is only for you guys, okay? Just keep it in the circle of trust. It's a domain authority of 88, and it's rising. Probably be 90 soon. It's gotten promoted by TED and other things. You can get your own profile. And do me a favor for academic integrity. You know, don't spam all your links. Just spam a couple of your links. Just kidding. So You can use, so it's Mendeley.com. You can go and get a free profile. You can download the apps. Not only does it give major boosts to your PDF files, because you can list PDF files as journal articles, and you can, of course, put certificate. I'm using Network Empire certification as my, they wanted schools. When they said awards and grants, they really wanted to, if you're a certified advisor. So when you finish these courses, you can put certification 1 in here if you want. And you can also pick your research field and everything. Also, this will count, just use as many diverse links as you can. I've used sort of theme zoom certification. So if you have an agency, you know, you could create your own certification if you wanted to, or whatever. But definitely use ours. And also, you can, you know, it has consultative services. You'll still get the credit for the link here. Some of these are no files, the upgraded version. I just wanted you guys to know that this is pretty powerful because it's also a trust builder. Just wanted you guys to have that. Also wanted to close really quickly with the conversation to thank, yeah, guys, keep that to yourself. Also, hit me up if you guys have Mendeley pages. I want to start networking with you. It's a little bit, you know, start putting your Google patents and your, you know, start thinking like, when any of your clients hit your profile or you have a badge to your profile, they give a badge to your Mendeley profile, and it says like you're a search engine like technical auditor, and you have like Jimmy and Sue and Matt's like patent research papers and stuff in here. It makes you look like a serious badass. Okay, and you can link your profile to your agency page, and people are just like, damn. Okay, this is not a fly-by-night thing. This is a trusted advisor for search engine research and the rest. Also wanted to thank Neil before we go today. Neil gave us the results from our argument from week 2 during my training, which is connected to what we were doing today. But I just wanted to back up a little bit, and let me pull that up real quick. He said that I could share this with the class because we were having a friendly bet. I don't know if you guys remember on week 2. Neil was talking about, you know, which headline he should put. Does anybody remember that? Do you guys remember the headline argument about killer abs? Well, he's actually done the testing, and he was right. The best results come from, you know, what we call the painkiller article method, which is the 7 secrets versus just, you know, the general get killer abs versus 7 secrets or 7 neuro points to, you know, the brain just goes, yeah, okay, you quantify it. But he was right. Without exercise, by far, crushes it compared to just general and not without exercise. So Neil, you got it, and that's what you call an excellent marketing flight simulator. I would have had to test it to be sure. Point is, I know it seems obvious, but you always got to test, and Neil went out and did it. Bottom line is people would much rather get killer abs without exercise rather than any other thing you could mention. Notice that Neil did not highlight anything else because the click-through was like less than half. Nobody wants to frickin' exercise. The other thing is that the 7, the painkiller article marketing method, which is 7, name your bullet points, which we know is a neurocognitive click magnet because there's a process called interesting but incomplete but containable. Meaning if it's 7 secrets, it makes the brain quickly does a heuristic and gives the brain an idea that, okay, if there's only 7 things I need to know about this, I can probably handle that. Okay, whereas get just gives you a general idea, like there could be 100 things, couldn't there? And who has time for that? So that's what you call a heuristic, and that's a really huge tip. So Neil, thanks, brother. That was really good. Here's a picture of Neil. Awesome. Here's a picture of Neil McSpadden, badass. Okay, I'd like to thank you for that because that is really, this is what we're talking about with neuromarketing stacking. He went out and he tested it, and he did it, and he's doing pretty well with that. So thank you guys. Okay, thanks, Sue.
That was brilliant.
Do we want to close for today then? Sue is probably exhausted at this point. Yes. She really. Okay, I've got another meeting to go to. So you guys are amazing. The homework assignments, you might want to parse through and start looking at. Sue, did you dish out the specific homework assignments, Matt? Sue?
Yeah, the homework this week, if you guys have got Kraken accounts that are active, just Skype me your keywords. If you don't have a Kraken account, please open up a help desk request. Kevin will create the accounts. He'll then pass that on to me, and then make sure that you add your keywords in that list as well. So as Sue explained today, it's your market keyword, it's your product primary keyword, and then it's your supporting keywords. That's what we're looking for. And then we'll go and drill them out for you, give you that starting block to look with, just to save you time, and give you a nice data set to work with, and then you go and take what you've learned today from Sue, and you go dig around and apply and drill and map out your story or get your ideas together.
Yep, and sneak ahead a little bit into next week and just give it a run through. I mean, just look at what's coming.
Yep.
Okay.
So next week we're gonna be still looking at silo structures, how to build them out quickly. We're gonna have a quick sneak preview at DWS. That's going to become Network Empire Builder soon. And this is where we're going to show you how to map out the story really quickly and then get your site live. So
excellent. Let's wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you so much, Sue Bell. Thank you, Matt DeCruz. You're amazing. And we will see you all on the next webinar. And those of you who are also taking Parallel Certification Level 2, bless you. And you have a lot of homework assignments from yesterday's webinar. Like, you got some serious stacking to do, so focus on that. Also, don't forget that we are taking seat reservations for certification level 3 already. Never in my experience of ever launching anything have I had this much of a demand. A lot of pin-bid stuff. So we've made that into a certification course. Go ahead and get your seats when you're ready, if you're ready. There should be seats available in the next through the next 30 days. But we look forward to seeing you guys on that. But that doesn't launch till October, so I couldn't imagine you guys taking 3 things in parallel, although Brian would probably try. Brian would probably try. All right, you guys, we will see you on the next Webby, and thank you. Russell Wright,
Thanks, guys.
Matt DeCruz, Sue Bell, signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.